Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Matt Modi. I'm a content producer and betting analyst for OddsJam. In this video, what I'm going to be talking to you about is how you can make a ton of money, thousands of dollars, specifically betting on player props, whether it's NBA, MLB, NHL, NFL, no matter what the sport is, you can make a ton of money, specifically betting on player props, and I'm going to show you how. Again, my name is Matt Modi. I'm a content producer and betting analyst for OddsJam.com. If you want to find me on Twitter, you can at handle Modi_Matt. That is also just flashed on the screen here. And my goal is to essentially make people like you that are watching this video more profitable and more knowledgeable sports bettors. So this specific topic, like I said, is going to be about making thousands of dollars betting on player props, regardless of the sport. So what I have up here is just a screenshot of my OddsJam.com betting dashboard. This has all of the information about my betting history. So as you can see, total profit at about 10.8 grand, which is pretty good. I was actually up a little bit higher than this. I was up about 12 and a half, and then I had a little bit of a rough streak, as you can see here. Was able to get it back up to 10.8 as I'm fine-tuning a baseball betting strategy. But regardless, the strategy that I used in this video, I used to make a ton of money on football, as you can see here, and a ton of money on basketball, as you can see here. And I'm just now working on a baseball strategy that has been really profitable. The past 3 weeks, it has made money all from baseball. So let's get into it. So, like I said, this video is going to be talking about how you can make thousands of dollars, specifically betting on player props. So number one, and this is the most important thing, what I have up on the screen here is the OddsJam Positive Expected Value software page. This is the page in which any opportunity you see on this sportsbook, on this page here, is going to have positive expected value associated with it. It's essentially going to be a bet in which you hold the edge over the sportsbook. Normally, sportsbooks hold the edge over you. That's the VIG, that's the juice, which I'll get into in a little bit. But placing positive expected value bets on the OddsJam Positive EV page is how you can gain the edge back from the sportsbooks. So the way it works is just the logic behind everything before I get into it. So this OddsJam line you see here, this is pulled from the most accurate sportsbook in the world in terms of pricing odds. The logic behind this is this sportsbook, it accepts sharp money without any limits compared to all the other sportsbooks. So normally, sportsbooks will limit how much money they accept. This sportsbook does not. They literally brand themselves as winners welcome. They accept sharp money. They want profitable sports bettors to use their platform. That is how they market themselves. They're also available in more countries than any other sportsbook. So they not only do they accept the most sharp money, but over the most amount of people as well. So this sportsbook is going to be the true line, the true market of how any market should be priced at. It's going to be the most efficient betting market. Of course, what's important to do before anything is remove the VIG, which is done just here on the OddsJam Positive Expected Value page. The VIG is essentially, it can be viewed as the tax that sportsbooks price up odds. So using a sportsbook like DraftKings or FanDuel, you can place as many bets as you want without getting charged a transaction fee, right? You can place as many bets as you want and you won't get charged specifically for placing the bet. Instead, the way it makes sense is sportsbooks charge a juice to the odds themselves. So everybody, I'm sure, is used to seeing minus 110 odds for a spread or a total, right? That's the most common. So if you do the math behind that, you have to risk $110 in order to profit $100. So basically, if there are two different sports bettors, one bets the over for $110, one bets the under for $110. No matter what, the sportsbook is going to profit $10 from that transaction. So you multiply that $10 with hundreds of thousands of millions of zillions sports bettors with even more money, and you start to understand just how the sports books make all their money, right? They charge the VIG. So removing the VIG is how we can get the true line of how sports books price odds at. So that is what this column is here. So that is the background about how the math makes sense between positive expected value. Basically, the highest level version is we think a market should be priced one way, and using OddsJam, you could find it priced for more favorable odds. So we are placing bets that have a more favorable outcome of occurring based on the odds than we're getting. Another easy way to think about this, Let's pretend you're flipping a coin, right? Everybody knows you flip a coin, 50% chance heads, 50% chance tails. Let's pretend that we know the coin is weighted towards heads. There's actually a 52% chance that it's going to land on heads. But not everybody else knows that. So people that are placing bets with me are going to place bets based on a 50% win percentage, where we know it's actually closer to 52. And that gap between the no vig odds of the OddsJam line and of the odds that we're betting it at on the sportsbook, that is what leads to your percent edge, your percent profit margin. And of all the numbers that I've talked about, this percent profit margin is probably the most important one. This is how much you can figure to make based on your profit margin on this specific bet. So for this one, it's about $5.50 for every $100 spent. Now the $5.50, that doesn't seem like a lot on first glance, right? You're saying, okay, well, I'm making $5.50 on this bet. That's great. Okay, multiply that one bet. How many bets do you think you're placing a night? 10, 15, 20? Let's say you're placing 10. That would be, just to have the math in front of everybody, $5.50 times 10 means you're making $55 a day. If you're placing 20 bets a day, it means you're making $110 a day. Multiply that by 7 days in a week, and you're making $770 on average in 1 week of betting on player props. Now, of course, there's going to be variance here, right? There's going to be variance associated. So that's what's incredibly important to understand, is that this $770 doesn't mean that every single bet you're placing, you will get the profit margin of the percent you see here. Of course, either you win and you get all of your profit, you lose all of your risk. But this is what you can figure to make over the course of time. So you will be surprised that your actual profit will start to equal your expected profit over the course of time. So this is $770 weekly if you're placing 20 bets a night at roughly 5.5% positive expected value. So I mentioned before how you can make thousands of dollars betting on player props. Let's say that, you know what, you're only able to place 10 bets a night. So your profit, instead of it being $770, let's just call it $250. That's fine. $250 a week times 4 means you're making exactly $1,000 a month. So regardless of your bankroll or of how many bets that you place in a day, the math behind it is right in front of you. You can get to how much money you want to make just by what you're willing to risk over a course of a betting night. And that's exactly how you can make thousands of dollars betting on MLB player props. Betting on player props, not just MLB. I said that because there's one in front of me. So I talked about the math behind it. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of actually placing these bets. So I used an example of something I have up here. This is a Lance Lynn over strikeout prop. Number one, what's incredibly important for player props, to look at this column here on the far right, you see width. This column is calculating the market width. Market width is essentially a way in which we can measure confidence in what the OddsJam line is pricing their odds at. Basically, the logic behind it, the closer these two numbers are together equals more confidence in what OddsJam is pricing their lines at. And this number you see here, 34, that's literally just calculating the difference between these two numbers. 141 minus 107 equals 34. For player props, anything that is below 40 or below 35, that is going to be within the sweet spot for player props. So this player prop being at 34, check, that's perfect. So we're looking at whether we should bet this Lance Lynn player prop or not. So checkbox number one, it's positive expected value, profit margin of 5.5%, and it's about it's exactly 34 cents in market width. So check from a math perspective. The next thing that you need to do before you should place a player prop bet, if you're on the OddsJam page, you can actually right click, open link in a new tab, and you can pull up where every sportsbook is pricing odds for this market at. What we're trying to do here, the goal of what we're trying to do here is determine, let me move my camera so you can actually see the sportsbooks, we're trying to determine whether or not the odds that we are betting it at are a true discrepancy or not. So as I mentioned, this OddsJam line here is going to be viewed as the true line, the perfect line. But because it is another sportsbook, that doesn't mean it's 100% all of the time going to have the correct odds. There might be examples where, you know what, the OddsJam line actually has this priced incorrectly. Well, we can find that out just by comparing where all the other sportsbooks are priced at. We just want to look at which one's the outlier, the OddsJam line or the odds that we're betting it at. So the OddsJam line has it at minus 141. The odds that we're betting it at on FanDuel are at minus 108. And it looks like the closest odds to the FanDuel line that we're betting it at are minus 120. No book is giving you better odds than minus 120. No minus 1 teens, no minus 110. Minus 108 on FanDuel and BetRivers is a true outlier when you compare it across all of the sports books. So number one, check out the math, check out the market width, check. Number two, check out whether we're truly betting on a pricing discrepancy or not. Check. Check that box here. Number three, and this is what's incredibly exciting, is the new app that OddsJam has released. So the app is called OddsJam Props. It's actually a very, very easy to use. It's available on your Mac, on your iPad, on your iPhone, anywhere you can download an app, download OddsJam Props. It's essentially a player prop research tool. So this is step number three when placing player prop bets. Look into the historical data. It's not going to be as important as the math and as the odds, but it's important context to have. So if you're unsure whether you're going to place a bet or not, you're not sure if the outlier is big enough, check the historical data. Or let's say that, this is a true outlier, this bet's great. And the historical data, the research matches the math, well, then that's even more confident. So if you're continually placing these bets that check off all three boxes, that's how you can maximize your profit and your return on investment, specifically with player props. So here's how it works. Right now, I just have up the page of nothing, right? It lists, not of nothing, of everything. It lists everything. It has every single player and every single prop. So the bet that we are placing, if we remember, is Lance Lynn over 4.5 strikeouts. So all I need to do, type in his name, Lance Lynn. Now you see there's a bunch of different props here, right? Singles, doubles, triples. He's a pitcher, so there's not going to be any props for that. Runs, that's on there. Hits allowed, that's on there. Walks, yes. Strikeouts thrown, bing, bing, bing. That's what we're going to be looking for. So if I just click this right here, just click it, this table pops up that shows all of the historical data for this specific player prop. So Lance Lynn has only pitched 5 times so far this year, but if he had pitched more, you could go the whole season. You can go last 25. You can go last 10. You can go last 5. Of course, this one is only 5. But it gives you the implied odds of how often this player has hit this prop. So in this case, he's hit it 60% of the time, which gives you the implied odds of minus 149. Another way you can determine that is if you go to the OddsJam calculator, you go to Odds Converter, and you type in the odds, minus 149, we see he has roughly a 60% win probability. So basically, this player has hit this prop 60% of the time. So really, we know that this bet hits 60% of the time. We can also determine the win percentage of the odds that we're betting it at. So this is the weighted coin. This is where the weighted coin comes into play. So we know that this bet, based on the OddsJam line, gives it minus 141. So we can actually put that in here. Minus 141 gives it roughly, let's call it still 60% chance of hitting. We know that he also hits it at a 60% rate thanks to using the OddsJam app. Now, if I type in the odds that we're betting it at, minus 108, that only has an implied win percentage of, let's call it 52. So we're placing a bet that the most accurate, the sharpest bookmaker in the world thinks is going to hit at about a 60% rate. We're also placing a bet that we have the historical data, the actual math, the actual games played that say this bet is also going to hit has hit, I should say, at a 60% rate. But we're betting it at odds. It only needs to hit roughly 52% of the time. So that gap between those two numbers, that is another way to think about positive expected value. So step number 1, does the math check out? Yes, it does. Check. Step number 2, is it a true discrepancy when you compare across all the sports books? Check. Step number 3, what does the history tell us? What does the research tell us? It tells us that he hits this at a 60% rate. Check. This is a player prop that is worth betting, so I actually hit it for $100. As you see right here, I placed this bet for $100. So my profit margin for this bet, you can essentially view as $5.50. So you multiply this bet by 10 bets, by 15 bets, by 20 bets a day, by 100 bets a month, 100 bets a week, by 1,000 bets a month, and you can see how you can make so much money betting on player props. So to do one quick recap, Mark it with either 40 or 35 and below, depending on what you want to go with. If you want to be safe, go with 35. If you want to be a little more risky, go with 40. Make sure that it is an outlier across all the sports books. So make sure that every other sports book agrees more with the OddsJam line than with the line that you're betting it at. And number 3, check the historical data. Check to see how this pitcher has been doing. You could check both home and away. You could check both in a team win or in a team loss. Regardless, there's a ton of different information at your disposal using the OddsJam app. And the last thing that I'll say is this is just version 1 of this app. If there are certain features that you think should be added, let us know. We want to fine tune this app to be as user friendly as possible. So any information that you think would be helpful, let us know, and we'll think about it, and we'll add it to the app. But regardless, that is going to be everything that I got for you. So number 1, let me know what you think of the video. If it's something that you thought was good, that was helpful, let me know in the comments. If you thought it wasn't helpful, if you have negative feedback, that's also fine. Let me know in the comments. I would appreciate, regardless, that if you could comment, let me know your feedback. If you could like the video, if you could subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel. But again, if you want to find me, my name is Matt Modi. I'm a content producer and betting analyst for OddsJam, on Twitter at Modi_Matt. But that is all I got for you. So I really appreciate you guys watching, and have a good one.